Straight all day.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that, Dre? That's the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic, being good at what you do, is not N-O-T, not the key to your business. Did you know that? Being good at what you do is not the key to your business. I'm going to tell you what the keys are, and I'm also going to explain to you why this topic is a topic and why it's so important that everyone understands this. Before I do any of that, let me tell you all that I send out a daily motivation text message free of charge every single morning to everyone who is in my text community. This is a message that is guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. So if you want to receive this message, and just to be honest, why would you not? All you got to do is text me at the following number: 305-384-6894. I'm doing something else while I'm typing to you. I almost said the wrong number. My number is 305-384-6894. Send that message to me, and every single day when I send out the daily, send a text message to me at that number, and every day when I send out the daily motivation text, you shall receive it free of charge straight to your phone. You can even text me right now, or at least at the end of this episode, tell me what the best insight was that you got from today's masterclass. Again, the number's down below in the show notes. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the best place, the next place, and the best place for you to start working with me directly. That's where you can get access to my coaching programs. That's where you get access to all of my courses. And I send out physical mailings every month, not just emails, physical mailings, not just text messages, physical mailings every month, only to people who are members of the university. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, see your options, and get started with me. You can even schedule a call with me. We can talk about where you're at business-wise, personally, where you want to go, and how I could possibly help you get there, what it would look like. That's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. All said, let's get into the topic here today. Again, being good at what you do is not the key to your business. Now, I hope that this title is not a surprise to everyone. It might be a surprise to some of you if you're relatively new around here. It shouldn't be a surprise to all of you if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time. But I bet it's a surprise to some of you, since the show is called Work on Your Game. I mean, most of you, this shouldn't be a thing. But maybe you expected that you just need to get better and better and better at the thing that you do. Whether you are a gym teacher, you're a physical therapist, you're a coach, you sell pretzels on the side of the highway when people stop at the red light. Maybe you think you just get better and better at the thing that you do, that eventually you'll become more and more successful. This is an inaccurate idea based on an inaccurate formula. If you never heard me talk about inaccurate formulas, this is actually one of my favorite things to talk about. It's episode number 2163, where I talked about inaccurate formulas. But by the end of today's masterclass, it will no longer be a surprise or news to you that being good at what you do is not the key to your business. And you will understand what the key to your business actually is. Okay, so I'm going to knock down a false belief that you came here with, and I'm going to replace it with a better belief. You got that? Good. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is being good at what you do is not the key to your business. Number one, you are in the business of marketing and selling what you do. You are not in the business of doing what you do. This is something that I just talked about in the previous episode. We talked about doing things that work versus things that feel good. Tension relieving versus goal achieving. Understand that business is simply exchanges. That's all it is. Business is the exchange. It's when someone gives you money for the product or service that you're offering, and or vice versa. You give someone else money for the product or service they offer. I mean, you buy things too, right? Therefore, you are not conducting business unless you are or are trying to initiate exchanges. That's the only time business is happening, is when exchanges are happening. Doing the thing does not initiate an exchange, at least not in terms of money. Yes, you are giving a service and you can give people a product. You can do those things without having any money being exchanging hands. But I'm assuming that you understand the tone of this episode, and I don't have to assume, because I'm going to tell you, the tone of this episode is about business. We're talking about making business happen, and business is not happening unless there's money exchanging hands. Okay? So you need to be initiating exchange. The exchange happens when you sell your ability to do a thing, then you get to go and do it. That's it. Now, you could do it and not charge money for it. Then at that point, if you're doing something and not charging money for it, or even trying to, then what you have is a hobby. And a hobby is not the same as a business. I talked about this in episode number 2450, where I talked about the 5 levels of the game. First level is the fan, the second level is the hobby. The hobby is the person who does something, you dabble in it, but you are not fully in, you're not fully invested, there's no money exchanging, therefore there are no expectations on you. That's the hobbyist. The next level is the job. That's when money comes in and there are expectations. Then there are more levels after that. Listen to episode 2450 if you want more on that subject. But doing the thing that you do does not necessarily initiate an exchange. So the exchange is when you sell your ability to do what you do, then you get to go do it. Now, again, if you're not charging, you have a hobby. If you want to be in business, which means you're making money from what you do, you need to focus on the selling and the exchange creation for that thing rather than just the skill itself. The key word here is focus. Your focus needs to be on the selling and exchange creation of your thing, not the thing itself. Point number 2, today's topic once again is being good at what you do is not the key to your business. Number 2, longevity at a job is not necessarily equal to value. In other words, doing a job for a long time does not mean that you are more valuable now than you were when you first started doing the job a long time ago. Not necessarily. Time invested does not necessarily make you a more valuable individual in a business sense. Just because you've been doing something for a while does not mean you have become worth more money automatically. This is something that when I hear people who deal with business owners who may have, especially in, let's say, like corporate type of environments, or maybe academia, this probably happens, or any place where any companies or industries where there are lots of employees, let's say like the local grocery store or a convenience store like a CVS or Walgreens or things like that, or companies where people are in management and they have middle management, they have layers of bureaucracy. Usually people get year over year raises, right? And whether you are a person who's been on the receiving end of this, you've been on a giving end of this, you also hear people talk about this in the government. They talk how, well, with inflation, the cost of living has gone up in certain cities or everywhere. The cost of living goes up. And then the people who work at rank and file jobs then are voicing their discomfort with the fact that the cost of living is higher than what they are making at their jobs. So what these people start doing, these rank and file people, and then the politicians who were voted into office by these rank and file people, they start talking about how, hey, our jobs need to pay us more money. We need to raise the minimum wage so that people like us are making more money so that we can afford to live the way that we want to live, or the way that we need to live, or I don't know what is it is that they're referring to, but why we need to make more money. And I've talked about this in other episodes of this show. I can't find an episode right now while I'm talking, but understand that the minimum wage in life is not $12 or $15 or $20. Minimum wage is zero. Minimum wage is nothing. All right, go find somebody who doesn't have a job and ask them what the minimum wage is, and they're making it. All right, the minimum is the least amount. The least amount you could possibly make is zero. Or I guess the least will be less than zero if you owe money, you're paying it, money that you don't even have. Remember that value is in the eyes of the beholder, everybody. And the beholder, when you have a job, is the person who writes the checks. They're the beholder. So your value is not what you say it is, your value is what they say it is. Now, if you disagree with what they say your value is and you want your value to be what matters the most, then you need to become what we call an entrepreneur, because an entrepreneur gets to write their own checks. They get to decide the value of they get to decide the value of their work and the value of their presence, and they do that by mastering the ability to sell, which we talked about just a couple days ago. So if you would like to create more value, and let's say you want to have a job, but you just want to get more money from your job, you need to show the check writers, or the check writer, usually is one person, why what you do or offer is worth something to them. Or at least the person who can influence the check writer. Why what you do is worth whatever to them. Your personal opinion of what you are worth matters when you're looking in the mirror for your personal development and your self-esteem and all of that. But in a business sense, it does not matter as much as the opinion of the person to whom you are selling. And this goes for you entrepreneurs as well. So for example, if I create a course, I have a course called Bulletproof Mindset 2.0. The value of that course, yes, I can think that it's worth whatever. I can put whatever number on it that I believe that it's worth. But the only way that course is going to sell is if I get one of you to also believe that that course is worth whatever the price tag is that I put on it, and you are willing to exchange your money for it. Until I get you to agree with what I believe is worth, then you're not going to give me the money. Actually, I believe it's worth more than I actually sell it for, but you got to believe that it's at least worth the amount that I'm charging for it. Otherwise, you won't pay the money. I charge $1 for the course. If you don't think it's worth $1, you ain't buying it. All right, this is just the way that it works. So remember that value is in the eyes of the beholder. So if you want to create more value, you have to see through the eyes of the person to whom you are selling. Your personal opinion doesn't matter as much in this case. And just because you've been doing something the same way, even over an extended period of time, does not necessarily make it worth more money. Again, it depends on where you're at, who you're working with, and what they value, not what you value. Again, this is like employees, and this happens at a lot of companies, especially in the USA. You work at a company for a long time and you expect a raise because another year went by. So you're a year older, you're doing the exact same job this year that you were doing last year, but you want more money. Why? What have you done to actually provide more value to the company? You're not doing anything. If you haven't done anything new, you haven't added any new skills to provide any new value to the company, why should the company be obligated to pay you more money? And what grounds, on what grounds do you stand to try to shame a company for saying that they need to give you more money just because life costs more? Okay, the cost of life went up. I 100% agree with you that the cost of living has increased significantly over the last, I can just think back 15 years ago what I was paying for housing versus what is being paid now. It's a lot different. Yes, the value of living has gone up. The cost of food, hopefully that goes back down, but these things, this has changed. I 100% agree. So here's the question. The question is not, well, how much should my job give me more because the cost of life has gone up more? That's the wrong question. Here's the better question. How much have I increased my own personal value in the same time that the cost of life has gone up? The cost of life has gone up, then the cost of me should have gone up. And the cost of you only goes up when you increase the value that you offer to the people who buy from you. That means if you have a job, your buyers are your bosses. Have you increased the value that you give to your bosses this year versus what you were giving them last year? And can you demonstrate to me how you've increased that value? If you can't, then that means you are not worthy of a raise. You're not worth anything else. You're worth the same amount now you were worth last year. You're doing the same job now that you were doing 6 months ago. You haven't gotten any better. You are not any more efficient. You are not making the company any more money than you were before. Why are you entitled to anything extra? This is a legitimate question that I'd be very interested to hear somebody answer it. Somebody who is saying that they deserve more money just because they are not making enough. They're not making enough where they are. Okay, well, are you better? Are you making a company more money? If you aren't doing that, why are you worth more money? Doesn't make sense. I was talking to this woman who worked at the front desk in my building several months ago, and she was talking about how she wanted a better job. She was looking to make more money. And I said, okay, how much money do you want to make versus how much you're making? And she said, well, I want to make a living wage. That was the phrase that she said. And I could tell by the way she said it, that was a phrase that she had been introduced to. And that was, and she didn't give an exact number. She just said, I want to make a living wage. And I think she was looking for maybe $20 to $25 an hour, which is fine. If you can find someone who's willing to give it to you, then the market demands that you receive it because the market said you're worth it. If somebody will give it to you, but if nobody will give it to you, then you're not worth it. This is just the way that the game works, folks. We call this the supply and demand curve, which you should have learned in your economics classes in college or at high school. So just because you're somewhere does not mean your value has gone up just because you're there. All right, you got to show that you are worth more, and which usually means you got to produce more, because we're in a performance and results-based business. So is the company doing better now because of your efforts? If not, then why are you worth more? If you cannot answer these questions in the affirmative or draw a clear line between your actions and increased results for the company, then your worth has not increased. Or another way you can increase your worth is if the market is willing to bear the price that you're asking for. In other words, there's someone willing to give you what you're asking. If not, then you ain't worth it. So if I go out into the world and say, hey, I got this book and I'll give it to you for free, just cover the shipping of $9.95, and somebody pays it, then that means the book's worth that. If I say I want $30 for the book and somebody pays it, then it's worth that. If I say I want $100 and somebody pays it, it's worth that. If I say it's worth $1,000 and nobody pays it, then I got to figure out where is the sweet spot between 100 and 1,000, because at 1,000 nothing happened, but at 100 something happened. Let me see where I can go. Again, that is called the supply and demand curve, and this is an economics principle that all of you should understand, because this has just as much to do with you as it does with anyone else or an inanimate object such as a book. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is being good at what you do is not the key to your business. Number 3. So Putting this all together, the key to your business is your ability to market and sell the value that you offer to your clients and customers. That's the key to your business. So let me say the sentence again so everybody caught it. The key to your business is your ability to market and sell your value that you are offering to the clients and customers who pay you or who might pay you. So when you are thinking about what you do, somebody asks you, what do you do? All right, what you should think about is the marketing and selling of the thing, not the actual thing. So next time somebody asks me what I do for a living, I'll tell them I sell mindset, strategies, systems, execution. I probably won't say it that way. I'll probably say something that they can understand a little bit better. I'll say I help people make money. Because that is what I do. I help people make money. Now, the way that I do it is we get their mind in the right place. We can help them strategize what they're actually going to do. We put systems in place so they can execute the strategy over and over again, and then they execute so they can get the outcomes they want. I'll say I'll just help people make money. Usually if I say that, usually somebody will say, well, how do you do it? Then I can go into detail. But the whole point is, the way I help people make money is by selling them my programs and courses and coaching, etc. on the thing. So again, you may not have time to say all of that. You could say something that sounds a little bit simpler, sexier, or however you want to say it, but understand that when you are thinking about it, I don't care what you say, but when you are thinking about it for yourself, what you actually do is you sell the thing. All right, that's your business. Your business is selling the thing, not doing the thing. So people need to understand the value of what you offer, what you bring to the table, whether that's product, service, or yourself. They need to appreciate that value, and they must be willing to make an exchange of their money for the outcomes and the value that you produce. It is your job then as a professional to figure out how to best communicate your value and make these exchanges occur. That's your job. How do I make exchanges occur for the amount that I want based on what value I'm offering to what people? All of that is your job. The good news is you can work with people who already know how to do this. They already know how to help you create exchanges and demonstrate your value and communicate your value. Work with people who already know how to do this. They're already doing it, and they know how to teach people like you how to do it. So you don't have to figure it out on your own, which means you will achieve your outcomes a lot faster. You get more back of the most valuable resource you own, which is your time. Actually, kind of the only resource you own, which is your time. And this is how you achieve results faster. Keeping in mind, by the way, again, and I often remind you, you do not have forever to figure things out. The slower you go in figuring things out, the less time you have to actually enjoy the results, if that is, you actually achieve them. All right? Just because you take a long time to achieve a result doesn't mean you're actually going to achieve it. All right? You can take a long time and still fail. This is why you invest in yourself using your money to buy time. Everybody follow what I said here? Great, let's recap today's class, which is being good at what you do is not the key to your business. And hopefully this isn't a surprise to everybody. It may be to some of you, but this is an inaccurate formula to think that getting better and better at the thing that you do is the key to your success. That is not the key. Point number one, you're in the business of marketing and selling what you do. You are not in the business of doing what you do. Just because you're good at doing it does not mean you're going to make any money. How many of you think you're really good at what you do, yet you still feel like you're not making as much money as you should? Almost everybody's raising their hand right now. All right, so that proves my point. You're in the business of creating exchanges, not in the business of just doing work. Point number two, longevity at a job does not equal value. Just because you've been doing something for 10 years does not mean you're any more valuable now than you were in year number 2, 3, or 7. Can you prove that your presence has increased in value since last year? Can you show that the company is doing better because of your presence versus where it was doing earlier in your presence? If you cannot draw a line between those two, then your value has not actually increased even though you've gotten older. Point number three, putting this all together. The key to your business is your ability to market and sell the value of what you offer to your clients and customers. So when you think about what you do, don't think about just the action and the activity and the program or the product or whatever. Think about the selling and marketing of that program or product, because that's where the money happens. The money exchange happens when you sell and market something. It does not happen when you do it. Because again, a lot of the things that many of you do for a living, there are people out there doing those same things and not making any money from it. There are people making way less than you for doing the same thing. There are people making way more than you for doing the same thing. So y'all are not in the same business. They are just better at selling or worse at selling. And good thing is you can get better at selling. When you understand that that's the key lever that changes everything, then this should become your main focus. And when you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, You can schedule a time to get on a call with me, and we can talk about how you can get better at selling what you do, because that's where the business happens, that's where the money's at, and I think that's what you're interested in. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com, click the button to schedule a call with me, and let's talk about how we get your business where you need it to be as quickly as possible. All the thing you can do is text me at my number 305-384-6894. Let me know the best insight you got from today's masterclass. Work on your game. Dre all day.